Welcome back to Sports Court. I'm Tamara Holder. Rape on college campuses across the country has become quite the controversial topic recently. From allegations against Florida State's star quarterback Janus Winston, who was never charged, by the way, to the scathing Rolling Stone article that ended up being filled with lies. And now, the University of Tennessee is in the news. The school is being sued by 6 women who say it has a rape culture that protects its male athletes. Joining me now is attorney Andrew Miltenberg. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me today.
So you're the guy who defends the accused, most of the time the men who are accused of rape. I want to ask you, do you think specifically that there is a culture in America protecting male athletes at universities because the colleges are paying the basketball coaches and the football coaches the most out of anybody in the entire state?
It's naive of us to think that universities are not protecting their athletes. University of Tennessee, for example, on average, its gross revenues are in excess of $100 million a year on its sports programs. So the answer is yes. I believe there is a separate set of rules for athletes and non-athletes.
And I want to actually point to an article that I found in my research because I'm very interested in just this entire issue. From, I believe, the 90s. And it was a front-page article in the Tennessean saying, are the Vols out of control? And we have it on the screen here. And it has 8 athletes, cover article, and that was in 1995. We're now 21 years into this, and there have been stories on and on and on about this at multiple schools, not just Tennessee. So what is the problem, and why isn't it being fixed?
I think the problem with athletes is that the schools are protecting them and either manipulating the investigative process or manipulating when the hearings take place to allow for the season, whether it's basketball or football, to end.
Right. And in the lawsuit at Tennessee, apparently, they have a special process just for the men, or the male athletes, if you will, where the school hires an attorney to represent them. Now, I understand that you represent the accused, and I understand that because I believe that people charged with crimes should have lawyers, and people accused of rape should have lawyers. So I respect your role. But this is public money, right? We're paying these public institutions. Should the schools be paying for lawyers to protect students, especially male athletes?
Absolutely. I think private universities and public universities have an obligation because of the seriousness of sexual assault allegations and because of the very dire consequences to someone being found responsible. I think it's very important for universities, public and private, to provide an opportunity for the accused to present their side of the story.
Now, rewinding a little bit to your belief, I believe, that the schools shouldn't even be investigating rape allegations, that this should be the role for the police, correct?
That's correct.
Am I right on that? So what about the Janus Winston case and a lot of these cases where, and you agree that there are 2 sets of rules, where the women do go to the police and they say, you don't want to do this. Isn't their next option, shouldn't there also be another place to go, the school, that parents think they're protecting their children?
Absolutely, there should be another place to go because there are situations that may not arise to a criminal level that still would make it uncomfortable for a young woman who has believed that she's been the subject of sexual assault or unwanted physical contact to have to see the person who she believes victimized her. And the school has to be prepared to deal with it. The problem is that the schools are not handling these hearings in a way that affords any due process or transparency to the accused.
Right, and it seems like the scales have tilted so much that schools are so afraid now that they're just suspending guys left and right or expelling them because of their fear of a lawsuit or whatever, correct?
And that's correct. In my personal experience, and there at any given time over the last 2.5 years, I'm handling several dozen of these cases at the university level or in court, and the expulsions and suspensions are almost handed out like parking tickets.
So how do you resolve this? Because we've covered a lot in a short amount of time. The thing that really bothers me, though, is the fact that there is a culture of protecting male athletes in America, whether it's the NFL or college or even high school. Mm-hmm. So what do you say to the schools? You represent these guys. How do we change this? Or what do you say to potential victims out there?
Well, I think we have to separate the issues. Sexual assault, unwanted sexual contact on campus and throughout society is a tremendous problem. And schools have to deal with it aggressively. But that doesn't mean that they can't afford certain rights to the accused. Now, the University of Tennessee, for example, recently was found to have tread heavily on the rights of one of its wrestlers, and a Tennessee state court overturned an expulsion in that case. So I think the University of Tennessee, as most schools, are walking a very fine line between providing an opportunity for a victim to come forward and at the same time allow a student, whether it's a student athlete or a regular student, right, to defend themselves. Well, I respect your position and your role, although I don't necessarily agree with what you do. Mm-hmm. People don't agree with me for representing criminals, so I get it. No. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and thank you for your work. Thank you for having me today. Thank you all for watching. Sports Court is adjourned.